Hello everybody on the beautiful website YouTube, this is your Uncle Gun coming here, and today I'm taking a look and I'm reviewing the long awaited sequel to the cult classic by Ridley Scott. I'm talking about Blade Runner 2049. Holy shit. Denis Villeneuve, you French-Canadian genius dickhead mastermind of a filmmaker. You have done it again. This guy, if you haven't seen a single movie by this guy, you are missing out on some of the most extraordinary art that's been made the last years. I'm just calling it right there. Denis Villeneuve, you are the best director working today, and don't let anybody else say anything else to you. Blade Runner 2049 is... I'm gonna get into it. It is art. It is... wow. In Blade Runner 2049, we follow Ryan Gosling, who's playing a new Blade Runner called Officer K, and the film is set 30 years after the events of the original Blade Runner, made in 1982 by Ridley Scott. And let's just say that there is one mission that this Blade Runner goes to, Officer K, that starts to unravel kind of a mystery that leads down a slippery slope. From on there, we explore the themes of the original Blade Runner even further. So, let's just say this. A sequel to Blade Runner is probably something that some people wouldn't even have expected or believed would ever happen. Because the original Blade Runner is such a self-contained film that really plays a lot around with big philosophical questions and themes, that it really isn't a movie that, you know, should have a sequel, you could say. But at the same time, I mentioned in my original Blade Runner review how the best thing about the original Blade Runner is really the scope of the universe, the beautiful visuals they created, and you just feel like there's so much more you can do with this world that they have at display, that, you know, they're just doing the bare minimum to tell the story in the original Blade Runner, but you really could, you know, expand and examine this world even further. And that is exactly what Denis Villeneuve tried to do, and he succeeded to 100% with this movie. Blade Runner 2049 is a cinematic experience you need to watch. Everyone should flock to the theaters and watch this movie. I don't care what kind of movies you like, otherwise just give this movie a try, because this is, in my opinion, the sci-fi masterpiece of my generation. This is a movie that I went in with kind of mixed feelings. I was really excited at the same time because it's Denis Villeneuve. Ryan Gosling is a great actor, I really like him. And from the trailers it looked like it went in a good, nice direction. But holy shit, it blew me away. It's like... I don't even know what to say. Ryan Gosling is an actor that many people look down upon. They say, oh, he's just this, you know, stubborn looking guy. He doesn't really say much, he's kind of boring in his roles. But that's the beauty of Ryan Gosling, and that is why he's so well fitted and perfect for this role. And there is, according to rumors, or according to Denis Villeneuve, the character of K was actually written with Gosling in mind. And I really feel that, because Gosling is an actor that doesn't really need to have a lot of dialogue. He doesn't really need to explain via words what he's feeling. Because, I don't know, there's something with his eyes, there's something with his mannerisms that just tells you exactly what this guy is about, what this guy is feeling, and that exactly is what he delivers as Officer K. And Officer K is a character that has a beautiful, tragic, and very well put together story arc. Deckard in the original Blade Runner didn't necessarily have the biggest story arc. I talked about many characters being quite thin in the original Blade Runner and just being there for the whole story and the themes, whereas here it's kind of like they integrate the themes, the questions, philosophy into the characters, especially of K, played by Ryan Gosling, and it is absolutely beautiful. Overall, the performances in this movie are great, not only Ryan Gosling. Harrison Ford of course returns as Deckard, as you know. He is great, he delivers probably his greatest performance in years. He is, you know, he's kind of like what you used to see by Harrison Ford, but at the same time he feels so real and so authentic in the performance. The emotions he delivers are just so raw and real feeling. You really feel for Deckard in a situation, and the things you get to know what's happened to him, you're like, Deckard, poor fucking guy. It's also a movie that amps up the visuals even further. It really lives up to the original Blade Runner when it comes to delivering some of the most incredible visuals and effects you'll ever see in cinema. It is absolutely stunning. From first to last frame, your eyes will just have fucking orgasms. It's incredible. And of course we have the cinematographer, the genius cinematographer Roger Deakins back again here with Denis Villeneuve. And like many people said, if he doesn't get an Oscar for this, he will never get an Oscar, because this movie is so incredibly well shot. It is mind-blowing. So if he doesn't get his Oscar now, then I don't even know. I don't even know what the Academy is about, because this is fucking amazing. The cinematography is incredible, the visuals are incredible. Yeah, I mean, I don't really know what else to say. The movie is very emotionally rich. It's a movie that there's a lot to soak in. There's a lot, you kind of have to melt down. When you eat a meal and it takes a time for your stomach to process it, that's Blade Runner 2049. Because it took me hours and hours after the experience itself, coming out of the theater and talking about the movie with my friends, and then, going home and thinking about the movie, to really process everything I've seen. But I had it clear in my mind because it was so incredibly done that the movie never left my mind. The scenes, all the fucking scenes were there, and I could just sit down, think about it, and examine them after I saw the movie. This is a movie that really is, I think it delivers the themes of the original Blade Runner in a better manner. It is not necessarily in your face, but it feels like it delivers them a little bit more in a clearer light, in a more better fashion. Like, you can get a better grasp on what the directors of Denis Villeneuve and what the characters are about in this movie. At the same time, there's so much to soak in, because the questions are so deep and so never-ending. These are no questions you will get an ultimate answer to. That's the thing with the Blade Runner movies, I would say. The questions are so philosophical and so open that they are just so discussion-based that you will never really get a true answer. And that's the incredible beauty when it comes to the philosophy and the story of Blade Runner, especially Blade Runner 2049. It's not self-explanatory, but at the same time it's not like hidden, like you need to cipher it. You don't need to watch Blade Runner 2049, I believe, 10 or 12 times to really get a hold of, okay, so these are the questions that are brought up. You kind of get them at first glance, at least if you've seen the original Blade Runner, I believe, and if you kind of are used to watching sci-fi films that actually have a message to deliver. And I think it's such beautiful, so beautiful, because I understood from first to last frame what the story was about, and I understood the characters, kind of where they were going. But there were one thing, I was kind of upset because I thought that I had figured out what one character was about and what's going to happen with that character, and I was like, oh fuck, no. But I was wrong, and I was so happy to be wrong, because I was like, holy shit, that's just so much better. And I was, I was afraid that I actually, kind of spoiled the movie for myself when I was like, 30 minutes into a almost 3-hour movie? But I didn't, because I felt, because what I saw was what the director probably intended me to pick up, but then they went in another direction. Villeneuve's like, no, we'll go here instead, and the screenplay and the story goes another direction, and I thought it was really, really greatly done. Like I said, it's a lot to process, but at the same time, you will kind of get a grasp of it from the first hand. It's just like when you buy a bunch of candy. You cannot eat all that candy in an hour. You really have to process it and take your time with it, because you have a bag of fucking tons and tons of candy. That's kind of Blade Runner. It's a movie filled with eye candy and story candy and character candy. Everything is just so well done. You just want to decipher everything in this movie. It expands on its themes and its universe so well. The universe gets more fleshed out, there's more locations, it looks more inhabited, it's just bigger, and it's better. Sometimes bigger isn't necessarily better when it comes to, building a universe or something. Sometimes you want that little bit, smaller in scale and claustrophobic feeling, but I think that Blade Runner 2049 did the exactly right thing with expanding its world and making it feel more real, more authentic. And also, it's a very, very long movie. It's 2 hours and 40 minutes, I believe, but I never felt the movie dragged. And I'm not joking, there's not one scene in this movie I felt dragged. There are 2 or 3 scenes in the original Blade Runner that I think are just slow and draggy, and I'm kind of like, just get on with it, because I know what you're trying to do, but you don't have to take all these minutes to do it. This movie is so well paced, because it's very much a detective story, instead of, the kind of straight up murder mission that Deckard has in the original Blade Runner, which means that this movie has its twists and turns, and you unravel some new clues, and it goes somewhere, and it goes in some incredibly deep, dramatic, and philosophical areas, and it is just beautiful. It's just beautiful. It grips you and has your attention from first to last frame, simply because you don't really know where it's going. You don't really know. Like I said, I thought I knew at the point where one of the characters was supposed to, end up like, and I was totally wrong, which I was so happy about. Minor complaints. I guess I had to talk about this. Jared Leto. The complaint about him is not that he was bad. I actually thought Jared Leto was really good. I mean, I think he's back again at doing more subtle, not over the top performances. Looking at you, Suicide Squad Joker.
I thought we were friends.
He's kind of back doing what he's supposed to do, because he's a good actor, and I think he shows that here, definitely. The complaint I would have is that he doesn't have that much screen time, but at the same time I will undermine that complaint by saying that the screen time he adds really adds to the movie, and I feel like he probably is there, the amount of time he should be there. He serves his purpose definitely for the story, and for the themes, and for what the movie is supposed to be about. And yeah, the movie probably don't really need him anymore when I think about it like that. So it very depends. And some people say, well, the less Jared Leto, the better it is. I know some people who say that. I also have some minor complaints when it comes to the soundtrack. Not that the soundtrack is bad. Don't get all wrapped up about the soundtrack being so inferior to the original. Yes, the original soundtrack is better, I believe, but I think the soundtrack was really good. It had this bombastic and epic scope, and at the same time it had this kind of beautiful tingling at times. But the minor complaints I have with it is that they kind of overuse it in some scenes. In some scenes I feel like it could have been a little bit more quieter, and we didn't really need this bombastic, epic scope, huge soundtrack popping in. Some scenes could just have been, they didn't necessarily need that background music to just come flying in out of nowhere. Just as visually jaw-dropping as its predecessor, 2049 is a sequel that expands and examines the original themes and universe even more, and also give room for the new. It will leave you with awe and a lasting emotion of everything and nothing. It's a sci-fi masterpiece. I'm going to give Blade Runner 2049 a solid 10 out of 10. I absolutely was just blown away by this movie. I loved it, and it left me with that, hollow yet so enriching feeling you get in your chest when you watch a movie that just moves you and just, kind of puts you up against the wall and say that, think about this for a second, And that's exactly what Blade Runner 2049 did, and I'm just so fucking happy that it paid off, and I'm just so happy to see that Denis Villeneuve still just makes incredible movies. Like, this is a guy that I don't know what else to say. He is a mastermind. He really is, and I feel like this movie is a movie that will be looked upon, even though it's gotten so many positive reviews and so much praise so far. I think this is a movie that, when I look back at movies 20-30 years from now, the movies I saw in theaters when I was young, this is definitely one of the first that will pop up. Like, I saw this masterpiece in the cinemas. Very much like some people say that they saw the original Blade Runner in the cinemas. I think that Blade Runner 2049 will stand its test of time. I also think it's a movie that lives up to a sequel by far. Like I said, I think it surpasses the sequel in most regards, and at the same time I feel it's a movie that, even if you don't think it is as good as the original Blade Runner, you definitely will feel like, okay, it's a worthy sequel because it stays true to its roots and goes in a different direction, but at the same time kind of playing along with the universe and the themes, and it's just fucking beautiful. I loved this movie. All those moments will be lost like piss in rain. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe and help the poor guy out.
I know.